All right.
Why don't you go first?
Um, are we going to talk about what Spirit said first, or do we read the quote?
Either way.
Okay, I'll read the quote first, and then I'll have to play it because I did the what Spirit was talking about while I was like in bed, so I sat up and meditated, and it was kind of coming really fast. So I was like, wait a minute, no, I never pushed record so I could record it. I recorded
Yeah.
my. So the quote for today is "Love thy neighbor as thyself." Matthew 19:19, which definitely hits home. With everything going on. Like I look at, eh, I try to look at other people with with gratitude because I have to give myself gratitude. Like actually, I remember that is one thing Spirit was saying was stop just giving other people gratitude. Like so I think that's why I distant myself from a lot of people for a while because I do need to love myself. Because I can't. How can I love others if I don't truly love myself the way I need to love myself? I that has always been one of my things is I've always loved others more than I love myself, and I need to put myself first because I can't help others if I don't help myself. So I've definitely been working on that, and like I finally hung up. Kind of outside of this, but I hung up one of those like body link mirrors on the door. So now every time I go to take a shower or get out and or get dressed and I see myself and I just tell myself like I'm proud of you. You're beautiful. Like we're proud of the loose skin, like just stuff like that, like affirming that. So like and then when I get upset with people, like I did I was yesterday I had a yesterday when I did a store and the manager was like flustered and I was flustered. Like I just felt like this like incoming flusterness, and I didn't realize like it was probably somebody else that had been there before and the manager, and I kind of let it overwhelm me. And I had a moment where I didn't love my neighbor as myself. Like we kind of like butted heads because I was like very overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know where to put all this stuff. Like I have a whole truckload of pallets and there's no room in the store. The lady wouldn't let me put it out on the floor. And because there were still customers there, I was just overwhelmed. And I had to bring myself back down, because I like got snippy with her, and like said, I'm sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. I finally like was like took some breaths, had to bring myself back down into the present, and realize it's not her fault, it's not my fault. Like we kind of all created this reality right now, so it makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah. I love that. I think that those are good practices and that's a lot of good stuff that comes up with that quote. And love thy neighbor as thyself. And I think this is, the number one thing, right? And the second part of this that they didn't include is a part that's like body, mind, and soul. Like it's not just conditional, it's your whole holistic self, and it includes body, mind, and soul. And I think that like a lot of people can love ourselves in one way, like I love my soul, but like I don't love my body, or I love my body, but I hate being trapped in my mind, or like all of these things. And like I think that um it's true that we can't love other people and a lot of time until we love ourselves, but in a lot of times we are trying to love people so much that they can teach us to love ourselves, and sometimes that works, but a lot of times that feels overwhelming to other people. And so um yeah, I think like the more that I get content inside myself, the more I love myself, and the more that I see that, like, you know, when I first started the journey of like recording and making videos and stuff, like I would watch my videos like over again, and I would like criticize and compare, and I would, learn about my like touching my face, or I would what I was saying or whatever. And I would, feel anxious or like terrible about it. And then I would do it all over again, and I would do it in spite of that. But now I don't really rewatch a lot of my videos over again. Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't. And when I do, I have this like a deeper love for myself where I just like, because now I talk about the things that bring me joy, you know what I mean? And when I'm lit up and I'm passionate, it's hard. And this kind of gets me into listening to spirit, which was follow your joy, you can't go wrong. When I watch myself talk about the things that really light me up and the things that really come naturally to me, it's so hard to not find me endearing. You know what I mean? It's hard not to be like, oh my God, you're adorable. Like, you know what I mean? There's like part of me that's just like, oh, look at you just like light up. Like, and if sometimes I like, there's this part of me that is like, oh, you're vain or whatever. But like, there's been such a long time where I hated myself, and it's like, it goes against societal norms to like love yourself like that, and like to find yourself endearing and adorable. And like, when I watch myself on doing these TikToks that I'm like being myself and like not giving a shit and just kind of making them because it brings me joy, I find so much love for myself. And I think that that's what spirit is saying, is that you can't really go wrong when you're just in your power and in your joy and like doing it because you love it, and that's what you're called to. And I have the last few days, I have had some like it's the collective really that has been affecting me. But like a lot of times I tend to think of it as myself, and then I'm like, oh, and it's like unworthiness and all these things are coming up, anxiety, worry, lots of noise. And that's kind of what we're in until like Wednesday with the collective. But it feels like when I'm doing this, it's just like, where is this coming from? Like, why is this happening? And I want it to stop. But at the same time, a lot of times it's real reminding myself that it's not me. Like I love myself. Like I love who I am. I love the way that what's that reel that goes around on social media? Like I love that woman who talks about, I love myself. I love who I am. I love how I process. I love how I think. I love how I work through things. Like, and that's me. Like I've worked a long time to like not loathe myself and hate myself. Like there was a lot of years where I was just running away from who I was, ignoring who I was, and hating on her. And now it's more like I don't have that problem anymore. Like I don't have a problem with myself at all. No
Yeah,
problems.
yeah. That I still have problem, like I still am working on it. Like I said, like every time, anytime I see myself in that mirror, I have to do that positive affirmation. And I mean, I am proud of myself, but there's still like that inner battle, that I'm working on. I'm still programming my ego on that self, on the loving self part. And then that made me chuckle going back to um that session with you when my ego like told you I hate you, like when I was doing those positive affirmations in the mirror. Like it makes me laugh and tear up at the same time to see how far I've come since then. Like I literally had loathed myself and my body. It wasn't loathing myself because I love my personality. It was just the body I was in. Like even now, like like ego still tries to step in and it's like, oh, now we got loose skin, or oh, this, and it's like, no, like I'm proud, like I'm happy for the decision I made. I confided in my higher self before I did this. Like I am very happy with the decision I made. I needed this. I needed the help to get to where I'm at today. So it's like, and that's and going back to what you were saying about the TikTok, like been on TikTok a little bit. it's kind of cool. I get to say I've been doing something a little bit longer than you. So like when I first started the TikTok, I was the same way. Like I like kept judging myself and I'm like, but then I finally just realized like kind of like what Ashley Bradley was saying and she just posted a video how she was like proud of herself for getting on there with no makeup, no nothing, because people like authenticity, when you're just your authentic self and instead of trying to put on a show for everybody, people can relate to that. Not everybody can jump up and do their makeup and, and so it took me a little bit too. Like I was so scared to post videos because I was still, if you go look back, I still was so uncomfortable, and that was before I had the weight loss surgery. You know, I was so uncomfortable in my skin, in my body, and I still pushed through it, which I'm very proud. Like I just now came to that realization. I'm proud of myself. Like I pushed through that, and I didn't always wear makeup because I was trying to be authentic. And some days I did. I'm like, oh, I got time. I'm going to do makeup now. I'll do a video. But then there was a lot of the times I didn't because with me working full time plus trying to get a business going, you know what that's like. There's days it's so hard to do that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm proud of you, Megan, for as far as you've come for loving yourself as well as I'm proud of
thanks.
myself too.
I'm proud of you too. Like, yeah, I remember when my favorite part was that one of the first times you sent me a video, you were talking in like this like customer service voice is what I called it. Like,
Yeah,
that's your customer service voice. Like, that's not you. And I'm like,
I remember that now. I almost
yeah,
forgot about
yeah. I'm like, don't talk normal. Like,
it.
but I mean, that's really the truth of it. Like, we get to unmask and we play these roles, and then we decide like these roles don't really fit, and that's okay. And so we get to, do the, grow and learn and how like and it's truthfully, I wouldn't change it because I think it feels a lot more redemptive and um what's the word? Like I feel like because I was at that place of such self-loathing that like to love myself now feels exponentially better. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I couldn't relate to not knowing what it feels like to like hate myself, like I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I saw this quote that was like entrepreneurs are people who saw a problem and took it personally and decided to change it and find a solution for it. And I feel like that's kind of like what healers and people who want to help, people who are coaching or consulting, or they like, not everyone, obviously there's some people who are taking advantage of like whatever, but I feel like the majority of people is like you've gone through this pain and felt it and don't want other people to feel it, and so you want to help people, and so it's like this calling that comes in that to help people solve this issue that you've had. And I think that's really kind of like the truth. Is like I wouldn't be as motivated as I am if it wasn't for such darkness, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And I know it's scary in there and it doesn't feel like there's any way out. And to see people have so much, to see the people that I've worked with go from places where it's really dark and they don't see very much light to becoming their own light is one of the best things. And I always toy with that idea, you know what I mean? I play with that idea of like if I didn't have to make money or if I didn't have to do what I'm doing, would I still do it? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and I think that goes into the point of like, it took me loving myself in order to help other people because I know what it's not like not to love myself or
Absolutely.
to try to love people so hard that they'll love me enough so I know that I'm worthy or whatever.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
which makes me like I think we should talk about the exploration from yesterday. I sent my mom a text, um And I said, could you, hey mom, can you reassure me that if I fail, that I'm still lovable? And she said, you are one of the loves of my life. So no matter what happens, you're loved and by me and many other people. I love you to the moon and back. You are finding your way right now. It might feel like it's not going the way you want. There are bumps in the road, jump over them and move forward. You are loved always. And then she sent me a meme that said, someone said, you know, you have a big heart when you feel bad for doing what is best for you. And I felt that. Um, and yeah, it was, I think most of the emotional was actually being vulnerable and asking. Like, I appreciate what she said and it made me feel good. And then she called me a little bit later when she had time. And it checked on me to see if I was okay. Um, but I think for me, the hardest part is being vulnerable, like asking for that, like being like, hey mom, can you do this for me? Like
Yeah.
instead of it being like a thing, like, hey, can you send me money? Or hey, can you, you know, whatever, help me install my toilet or whatever. Like I ask her to do stuff like that all the time, but instead of being doing it was like an emotional thing. It was like and that was hard for me. And I was like getting a little choked up. And then
Yeah.
when I read it, I felt good and I felt nice. But um I think the biggest stretch was me for was like being vulnerable. And I've been trying to be more vulnerable because I know that like vulnerability is what allows us to feel and be alive and really connect. Like I really like that story where you were like, I was overwhelmed. I snapped at the person and I said, I'm sorry, I'm overwhelmed. Instead of blaming anyone, like you said, it wasn't her fault, it was my fault. You just saying your feelings, right? I'm overwhelmed. And like that to me is really hard because it's vulnerable and vulnerability is a tough one, but it's like, I don't know, Brene Brown talks about it all the time about how like you just like that's really the key of any really good relationship or living is vulnerability, you know.
No, absolutely. Like, it makes me a little emotional that like just to think about that because like certain family members, I don't want to say names, it's gonna be, I'm gonna eventually put this on online, but certain family members were always wanting me to be meaner, to be like I'm sure she'll realize who I'm talking about when she ever sees this. But she would always say, "Well, you should be like me. You need to have an ice heart. You need to have a nice heart." Like when I was growing up like as a teenager and even in my 20s, and I just couldn't. It's just not me. Like I'm not that person. But like so, I spirit has always been leading me in this direction. Because it's just like, and when I was mean, when I had like, I still have some anger issues. So I want to say to anybody that does listen to this and does see this that it's okay if you're right now, if you're in a moment that you have anger issues or you have a hormonal imbalance, because I have PCOS, I have a hormonal imbalance and I hated myself because of it because I didn't understand that. And um but yet I was such a good person. I was like, why am I such an angry person, but I'm such a good person, like, so it's like a walking contradiction, I felt like. And um but it was more, I was angry with family more than I was with outside people, so I came to that realization. And so it's like I'm just so proud because like now I realize when I get angry, I know how to get out of that. So like that's what I was trying to say. Like, if anybody listening that has that, like you will get there. It does take time. It's been years. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in one night. So it's just it is crazy. I still have angry moments because we're humans. We're allowed that emotion. It's just finding a healthier outlet for it. Like I remember you telling me that too. It's just finding the healthy outlet because of the environment that I grew up in. I didn't know how to express anger except for yelling and screaming and cursing. And, so now I'm like in a better space. And then, like I said, going back to spirit leading me up to where I'm at now, like, I always had feelings of knowing when something was going to happen and feeling other people's feelings, never knowing, just what, like 3, 4 years ago, I found out what that meant was the word empath. I was so astonished, like, oh my God, I know what I am. Like it's just astonishing looking back, you know, and seeing how much we loathed ourselves where we are now. It's like it's just so beautiful. Like we are butterflies. Like we're like coming out of this cocoon. I mean, you are pretty much, your wings are like right there, you know what I mean? And I am like, my wings are developing, you know what I mean? Like it's just so beautiful to see that and just envision that and just where we are today. Uh,
Yeah. And I just also want to say too is that the the thing I heard was anger the story I heard this anger makes me a bad person. But like that's not the truth. Like
no.
there's no morality in feeling emotions. It's what we do with those emotions, like you said, right? And so we didn't like the results of anger. So anger become bad. Anger makes me a bad person. It's like, no, that's not true. You're not a bad person. And I believe that everyone's a good person. But the problem is the result of hurting people or saying things that you don't mean or getting so overwhelmed that it feels suffocating or all consuming. And like that feels bad, but it's not, we are bad. And one of the things I've been learning too before we move on is, um, in other languages, when people have like do something on accident, they don't say like, oh, I broke the vase. They say the vase broke. It's because it's a consequence. Like it's the vase did break. Like it's not your fault. It's an accident. You didn't intentionally break the vase. And
Yeah,
even still, we're not focusing on you making the mistakes, but in the Western culture it's all about that. It's all about individualization and being perfect and spiritual bypassing all these emotions that are negative and positive vibes only. And it's very harmful because it doesn't make you a bad person. And the more that you like anybody, not you, but anybody resists negative emotions, they come out sideways. You know what I mean? And so it's really important to like work through that. Um,
absolutely.
did you share what spirit said with you?
No, I'm gonna see if it's loud enough for you to hear it. I shared a little bit of that popped in my head of what I remember. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Give me a second. I was like getting in my. Besides giving grace, I need to accept grace for myself and give myself grace. And not be so upset at myself because the last 2 nights I've been getting home so late. I didn't do the writing. I was so like it was in my intention. Like I'm going home tonight. I can't wait to get home tonight to write, to do them before bedtime. So I was so upset because it was like I didn't get home till 10:30. So I hurried up and was getting into bed so I get up in time. I'm listening. Hold on.
No growling.
It's almost over. There we go. There was a few parts that would took a minute because I was like getting in my zone. Follow through with your ideas. Sticky notes. And follow through with my ideas of sticky notes because, like I said, and instead of like just that mirror. I see myself in the mirror in the bathroom more. So the one thing is to follow through with my idea of getting sticky notes and putting affirmations on that mirror and every mirror. Like, even just like one simple line, like even in the car, on the rear view mirror, like every little place I can see to follow through with that. And it's almost ended. Love you. We're proud of you. And they said they love me and they're proud of me and I am loved.
Awesome. I think those are good advice. And I think it's true. Like if it's late and stuff like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to bed and doing the exercises at a different time. Just as long as you do them, you know what I mean?
Right, which it came to me this morning that I think it was led up for this to be lined up this way anyways, because it's in divine timing. Because I thought about it, like I was like after we get off here, because I don't work today. I just have some stuff to do in the afternoon, and one of the things is that came to me for this was I'm going to be writing the last 2 days this morning, and then I'm going to do today's tonight before bed. So I'm going to have all this beautiful like affirmation happening throughout the day because of it, and it's going to stick in my head more.
Yeah, totally.
It's okay, you don't have to cry.
And and you have two. The first one is writing, and the second day is in the mirror work, and then the third day is in the mirror work.
Okay.
So
that definitely is like led up to. Look how
right. And you don't. And when you say before bed, it doesn't mean it has to be like right before you go to bed. It can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so is there anything else you want to say before we move on?
Not that I can think of. Whatever comes up will come up.
So the next one is, what do you say isn't the best about your life? Who creates what is best or not?
I would for that one that hits because I was gonna say, but I was told to hold off because now I see why, because this is a perfect moment. Um, our ego, our ego is trying to protect us, but it also is trying to tell us like what is best in our life. When our spirit self is in control of it, because yesterday I had an internal battle. Like I told my mom, like, I have all these ideas. I'm so excited for my business. I'm going to meet with this lady. I'm going to get my website done. After she told me how proud she was of me, and explained that was, my exploration yesterday. I didn't fully talk about that. Was me asking my mom to do a video of her and my dad saying they're proud of me, and it made me tear up, like I really, the way my mom said it. And, now today thinking about it, I'm actually very happy that my dad did that because I know it took a lot for him to do that because as we discussed that. But anyways, yesterday after saying that out loud, a lot of internal battle was going on. And I was trying to show love to my ego, but, those thoughts of, well, there's other people that do coaching better than you. There's other people that make better, programs than like, why are you going to do that? You're going to mess up. You're going to, like all this like negativity just like arose as, and I'm like, that's okay. Like I even said that out loud. I was like, that's okay if I mess up. If nobody likes it at first, I'm just going to get better. It's a learning experience, like, but it was like ego is trying to run the life, and but spirit self is what is really creating the best for us, if we truly let our spiritual self out, but also being, thanking my ego, that's been a tough one, because when I I get upset when those negative comments come up. So I am the one that creates what's best for me or not. Was it? Did you hear him? It was getting really loud.
Yeah, he was louder today.
He's like, I want in there. I want to see what is going on. Okay, I love you too. Can I please focus? So how does that one feel for you?
So the couple areas that I have are my occupational, no, my financial, my physical, um, my creative, my intellectual dimension, and my romantic, social, or sexual. Because so one like many people, I have those thoughts like there's not enough money, I'm not good with managing my money, I'm not saving enough, I'm not making enough. And my physical is like I'm not eating the right, I'm not drinking enough water, I'm not taking my supplements, um I'm not cooking for myself, I'm buying too much takeout. Creative is connected to money again, where it's like I have so many things and so many projects that like I want help and I want to hire help, but it's like I'm overwhelmed by it, but I can't do that because I don't have enough money or whatever. And then intellectually, I have all these books and I want to read them, and I'm like I'm not reading enough books, I'm not reading enough.
Yeah. Okay.
And like also like it's one of those things where I want to buy more, classes, courses, whatever. And because it's like, oh, I don't have enough. It's always about a not enough. It's very lack mentality. And then relationship wise, like, I've been single for a while and I was thinking about getting out there in the game, but like it's like dating is weird and being on the apps is weird, and like I'm just not ready, or like like just those kind of thoughts. And all of those thoughts, I agree, are like the ego or mind. It's just like a mindset, and it's like, and it's believing it, like believing it's true and like it's not true.
Right, because I was about to say for the whole, you were saying, I can't afford to pay other people to help me. I was going to say you should totally start affirming that and journaling it as it is. Like the whole manifesting, like I can afford to pay people. I am paying people to help me.
Right.
I feel like that's going to help you.
I've been doing the
Oh,
scripting.
yeah. Like, oh, she should script that. Like
Yeah.
I can so see that happening sooner than later.
Right. Yeah. I feel it and I know that it's true. And like I think that was why like all of this nonsense and mindset and
Hey,
mental
Megan's ego. She's going to be paying people. She is paying people. Sometimes
yeah. I feel like that's what like spirit was telling me, like if you follow your joy, like you can't go wrong. Like it's coming to you. Just keep following your joy. Like
right.
because a lot of times what happens is I get into the flow, I'm scripting, moving forward, and then when I don't see the results and I have these quote unquote expectations, um I I then like kind of fall back into old patterns, which is like less scripting, less that, and then more of the focusing on the like the lack, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
more that you focus on that, the more that comes. So yeah, so I feel like it's just one of those things that it's very much just like expectations, mental chatter, and like believing the ego and the thoughts, because the ego is here to protect you and keep you in the comfort zone because that's where it's safe, you know?
Yeah.
So
like I guess that comes into place with the next part with the who would you have to be to create everything, every moment as the best. So I feel like that plays the part where we just have to believe. We just have to believe and then like work on reprogramming ourselves, work on loving our ego, but reprogramming our ego to be more loving to us and more not so negative. Like I feel like it's just a little bit of a reprogram and to look at ourselves in the position where we want to be. Like if we're not in a position where we want to be right now, then that's what we need to do is just like envision where we want to be and feel it, or like envision where we want to be as it is now. Like anytime when I get a glimpse of my higher self, I try to embody that. Like I just see myself as this badass, like the higher self when she comes in, she's like this badass, beautiful, like me. But like, well, she is me, duh. She's like, you know, in this like almost like a kimono type outfit because I used to wear kimonos in high school, so it's just like in this kimono outfit, like doing her practice, and when she talks to people or when she's doing or when I'm doing my Reiki, and just I the one time she was just standing at a Reiki table when she showed herself to me, and in a, like a kimono type of thing, like this long like dressy type thing, and just beautiful. So I feel like we just envision ourselves in feeling it as it is now, then that's, when everything's the best. Like you said, living in your joy now.
Right. And to do this, we are on love and acceptance today. That's, the first day was creation, the second day was worth. But with love and acceptance, it's like we were saying yesterday, it's like or was it 2 days ago? I am worthy of everything wonderful, but I am the creator of my own life, whatever is here or not here. And so like there's like this phrase that was like, if you whatever you have and don't have. So like your higher self created this moment for you. Like, and so how can you love and accept the fact that what you want or your expectations aren't here yet for a specific reason? Like what are you learning from it? Like what do you need? Like, because for me, when I first did this exercise, I had just quit my job and I had an overabundance in my bank account that I wasn't used to because I had like the last of my paychecks and all of these things. And I gave, like I was like constantly being generous with money and like doing and buying people's programs and supporting people. And then my bank account got smaller. And then the second time I did this exercise, I was very, very worried. I was lower than I expected, but I hadn't got my tax return yet. And then I got my tax return and I felt more comfortable. But I realized that I needed to, and the second one was about receiving. So the second time I went through this was all about receiving because I have a hard time receiving. And if I have money, I don't receive well because it's like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like I'm good, like,
Yeah.
and I am more of a giver than I'm a receiver, but giving and receiving are one of the same. And so anytime I'm resisting receiving, I'm also resisting being generous. And so for me, I realized that like I needed to be in this place where I was very tight on my budget because that's where I feel comfortable, right? Like that's where my comfort zone is. But at the same time, I'm stretching other muscles so that I can learn. And so it's like loving. So it's not only just like knowing that I can create abundance if I want to by switching my mindset and like doing things that are hard, right? Like actually making a budget, actually following it. Like I know those things are the energy exchange, but at the same time, it's like accepting like what am I learning from this and that I will be okay. Like even if I make quote unquote a mistake where I spend too much money or I buy too many books or whatever the case may be, like there is a reason for it. And what am I learning? And then like once I learn that, like actually applying that and being like, okay, well, if I don't want to, like if I don't want to feel this way, then I can budget, or then I can go do XYZ. But like at the same time, like I'm at this place where this is where I'm at, you know what I mean? Which is one of the reasons why I asked my mom for reassurance that if I fail, that I'm still worthy and lovable, because that's my fear. And failure is so like tied in with money, that it's like, that's the thing. And I technically, if I take money out of the situation, whether I have it or not, everything else in my life is really good and I feel successful. But because of the money situation, I have deemed myself unsuccessful or like a failure or whatever. And so it's really a story, you know what I mean? Going back to the thing is like, it's a story of meaning, which it doesn't, I can change that meaning very, you know, if I'm focusing on gratitude, I'm focusing on like, I am spiritually connected. I have time to do these things. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm like, whatever, in this moment, I'm perfectly content. My bills are paid, whatever. So I feel like that's kind of like what came up when you were talking, is that like, yeah, scripting and manifesting is all great, but there's still some lack there, because it's not loving and accepting this moment as it is, as
Yeah.
perfect, divine, whole, because we're, you know, like, we're good. You know, it's kind of like the analogy that I like to use with being whole and is like, if you get a finger, like a nick on your thumb, you know, your thumb is hurting, right?
Yeah.
But it's the whole crap, we just like should end our lives or something, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
like the thumb is hurt and you can't use it right now because it's like healing, but
Right.
that's only part of the whole. You
Right.
don't just throw out the whole because it's bad.
Right.
Like it, and like that's what we do in our life, is we say, oh, this one thing, my whole life is shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, there's more to this. And yes, it makes life harder to have your thumb not working or whatever, but it's capable. You're still capable of great things. Like, and the same thing goes if you don't have a hand, or you don't have an arm, or you don't have a leg, like the whole is still not, you
Yeah.
know, bad. It's, you know, this all or nothing thinking is really about like switching to love and acceptance. So is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean that absolutely like definitely plays a part. Like I what came to mind is like example, we get so stuck on, or at least with me, sometimes I'll get so stuck on, all the stuff that I've been telling you that I owe. It's like you get so stuck on that one, like in my mind, I'm like, I want to pay it, I want to pay it, I want to pay it before taxes, but I'd rather have an income tax instead of my taxes going to pay taxes. It's like, so we just sometimes get so hung up on that all or nothing mentality. And that's why that what you said hit home, because I know I'm working on that, because it's like I get stuck in that all or nothing mentality, or before, like ego so used to me, like, and I still want to take courses and classes, for to better myself. But like before, it was like, oh, I have to be perfect before I go out there. I need to do this before I go out there. I like example with my Reiki table, when I first got certified, I was like, I need a Reiki table before I even do Reiki. When people were doing it on floors or beds, and just get the practice in, and I was like, no, I need a Reiki table. And like I would not practice until I had a table. I mean, a couple of times I did on my husband, and in our bedroom when we lived with my sister, but um I guess that's also why I was like, I need a Reiki table because it was too low. But still, like, I wouldn't even tell anybody that I did Reiki until I had a table, because that all or nothing mentality. So, um, yeah, like that, it's just we have to and love those moments, like just love ourselves in those moments, because you can get stuck in that. You can get stuck in that, and then you get angry at yourself. And it's like, instead of getting angry over being stuck in that moment, just love yourself. And, you'll eventually come to the realization You don't need, I didn't need a Reiki table to do Reiki because there's distant Reiki. You know, I could have just sat somebody in a chair and did like a power Reiki session, you know, like I did at your garage for a couple of people, you know. It's like you just gotta work through those moments and love yourself through it.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
Do you
then
want to?
I was gonna say the next part with laughter. Megan got me back. That was funny. So
Yeah.
the first day I just sent you a random one, and then I'm like, hello, thinking you're gonna say something, and then it just laughing.
Yeah. The laughing out loud for 1 minute today.
Yeah, that was funny. Oh, I loved it.
It
I
was.
loved it.
Um, I like the it's easier to do it with another person than it is to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when you do it so randomly and you're not like expecting it at all. It just like
Right.
flows, flows.
Do you want to do the being grateful part?
Yes. I just needed to write something down because I know Spirit said to that I am fertile, but they wanted me to look at the list and feel what pops and like comes up. So I just wrote it down. So my new words today is eternal abundance.
Good one.
I almost forgot, so I did that real quick. So I'll use that for the being grateful. Oh, stomach. I acknowledge and thank eternal abundance, me, as the money, credit cards, plants, fishermen, shopkeepers, cooks, natural gas, truck drivers, farmers, and etc., for participating in every meal and every product I use today. Today, I am especially acknowledging fresh water.
Yeah. I acknowledge and thank spirit overflowing me as the money, credit cards, plants, fishermen, shopkeepers, cooks, natural gas, truck drivers, and Zoom for participating in every meal and every product I use today. And then today I'm especially acknowledging fresh water. It's so good that we have fresh water.
Yes, I know. I was like, oh, that's just one that was great.
Okay, just so you know, down here at partner B, where it says trust blank, completely surrender all your concerns blank, knowing blank, is being the best as your life now. So it's not my life now, it's your life. So that just so you know, that's a because my life is up here. And so your life has to be down here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Where it says is being as your life now.
Yeah, instead of my life. Okay.
Okay.
I'll go first. I trust spirit completely. I surrender all concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best as my life now.
You trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always being the best for all of life.
I trust spirit completely. I surrender all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best of my life now.
Megan, you trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you.
I do. I trust spirit completely. I surrender all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best as my life now.
Good, because I definitely see that you trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you now.
I trust spirit completely. I surrender all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best for my life now.
You trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always the best for you and life and always.
I trust spirit completely. I surrender to all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best for my life now.
Good, because I see that you trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always being the best for all of life is and all of life in the future.
Yeah. I trust through love and acceptance that spirit completely. I surrender. I always try to surrender and not control, because all of my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best of my life now.
Good, because you trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life and all of you.
Yeah, I do. I trust spirit completely, wholly. I surrender all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best of my life now.
Good, because you trust spirit as your life now, knowing spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you.
I trust spirit completely. I surrender all my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is only the being the best of my life now.
Good, because I can see that you trust spirit as your life now, knowing that spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you.
Thank you. I do. I trust spirit completely. I surrender all concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is taking care of me, because is being the only best for my life now.
Good, Megan, because I trust that spirit is as of your life now, knowing that spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you.
I trust spirit completely. I surrender all of my concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best of my life now.
Good, Megan, because I trust that you know that spirit is your life now, knowing that spirit is always being the best for you in all of life.
Last one. I trust spirit completely. I surrender all concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being only the best of my life now.
Good, because I see that you trust spirit as your life now, and knowing the spirit is always being the best for all of life and all of you. Okay, before we begin, I'm going to kick them out.
Okay.
Come on. One on my list today is to get a spray bottle. So as you see, if I don't let them in, they cry really loud, and then if I let them in, they want to get all over everything because they're not used to being in here. Okay. All right. I almost started back. You trust spirit again. Okay. I trust eternal as my.
No.
Sorry.
You go down to the partner.
Right. Go back to the beginning. That's why I almost started. Like I was like, wait a minute. My turn. I'm partner A now. Okay. I trust eternal completely. I surrender. No. Why am I so mixed up today?
Down at the bottom, partner B. You're telling me you trust spirit completely.
Oh, I didn't finish?
No. We haven't switched. We only did the top part for me. So now we switch before we go to you.
You trust. Oh, is that where you said your life? Like, so down there?
Yeah. So like you're going to read, you trust spirit completely. You surrender all your concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being the best as your life now.
Okay. And then you're going to go down to I trust spirit as my life knowing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm used to it being okay. I got used to a different pattern, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it goes back and forth, and then we switch to you being the I.
Okay. You trust spirit completely. You surrender all concerns to spirit. Yeah, okay, I see what I did. Okay, yep. I was looking at it's totally looked past that one. Okay. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
So Megan, you trust spirit completely. You surrender all concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being the best as your life now.
Thanks. I trust spirit as my life, knowing that spirit is always best for all of life.
Good, Megan, because you trust spirit completely. You surrender all concerns to spirit, knowing spirit is being the best as your life now.
It's true. I trust spirit as my life, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life.
Good, because Megan, I see that you trust spirit completely. You surrender all concerns to Spirit, knowing Spirit is being the best as your life now.
I trust spirit as my life, knowing that spirit is always the best for all of life.
Good, Megan, because I see that you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all concerns to Spirit, knowing that Spirit is being the best as your life now.
I do. I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life.
Good, because I can see that you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all concerns to Spirit, knowing Spirit is being the best as your life now.
I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life.
Good, because I see that you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all concerns to Spirit, knowing Spirit is the best as your life right now.
I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is the best for all of life.
Good. I see that, Megan. I see that you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all your concerns to Spirit. And I also see that you know that Spirit is the best as your life now.
Thanks, Sam. I do. I do know and I trust spirit as my life, all of my life. And because knowing spirit is always best for everyone on all of life.
Good, because I definitely feel and see that you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all your concerns to Spirit because you know that Spirit is being the best as your life now.
I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life.
Good, I definitely feel that, Megan, because I can see and feel that you trust Spirit completely and you know that you can surrender all your concerns to Spirit because Spirit is being the best as you in your life now.
It's yeah. It took me a while, but I do trust spirit completely and I surrender my control as my life now and knowing that spirit actually provides the best for all of life in every now moment.
Exactly. And it's so amazing to see how much you trust Spirit completely and you surrender all your concerns to Spirit because you know that Spirit is the best as your life as who you are now.
Yeah, I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life, not just me, everyone.
Yes, that's exactly true because you trust Spirit completely, wholeheartedly, and you surrender all of your concerns to Spirit, knowing that Spirit is the best as your life right now.
I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life. Last one.
Right. You, Megan, trust Spirit wholeheartedly and completely. You surrender all of your concerns to Spirit with no doubt. And knowing that Spirit is the best as your life in this moment.
Yeah, I do. I trust spirit as my life now, knowing spirit is always the best for all of life. Okay, now you can go.
Okay. I think like I get nervous. I don't know why. When it like just speaking, I can speak, but when I read, I get nervous,
Yeah.
which
It
is
takes
crazy because
it's
I like
also they write bizarrely too. It's like poetic, so it's like a little bit different than what we would use as our own words.
yeah. That's why I was like I think that's probably why I get nervous when it comes to the reading part of it. I'm like I get like choked up. So then I like hurried up and was rushing to get to it. See, I still love myself, even though I was nervous, and that's
Yeah.
hard to admit. Okay, now we go back up to the where we started, right?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. So I trust eternal completely. I surrender all concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being only the best as my life now.
Samantha, you trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best of all for all of life.
Thank you, because I trust eternal completely and I surrender all concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being only the best as my life right now.
Do I see and I'm witnessing you trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life.
I do trust. I trust eternal completely, and I surrender all concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being only the best as my life now.
I see your trust, that you trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life.
Thank you, Megan, because I definitely trust eternal completely and wholeheartedly. I surrender all of my concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is only being the best as my life in this moment now.
Samantha, you trust eternal as your life, your whole life, all of it, knowing that eternal is always being the best for all life, your life, everyone's life.
Thank you, Megan, because I trust eternal wholeheartedly and completely. I surrender all of my concerns to eternal because I know that eternal is only being the best as my life in this moment now.
You do. You trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life.
Thank you. Thank you, because I definitely feel that and I trust wholeheartedly and completely in eternal. And I surrender all of my concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being only the best as my life now.
It's true. 100%. You trust eternal as your life in this moment now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life.
Thank you, because I know and I trust in eternal completely. I am eternal and I surrender all concerns to eternal because I know eternal is only being the best of my life right now.
You trust and accept eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for your life and all of life.
Thank you, because I trust eternal wholeheartedly and completely. I surrender all of my concerns and worries to eternal, knowing that eternal is being the only best as my life right now.
True. You trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life.
I do, because I definitely trust eternal completely, wholeheartedly, and I surrender all of my concerns to eternal. And knowing that eternal is the best and only best thing as my life in this moment now.
Yeah, I see that. You trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life.
Thank you, because I trust eternal wholeheartedly and completely, and I surrender all of my concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being only the best as my life in this moment right now.
Yep, I see you trust eternal as your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of your life. Last one.
I was about to say, I think this is the last one I counted right. Because I trust in eternal wholeheartedly and completely, and I surrender all my concerns to eternal, knowing that eternal is being only the best as my life right now, in this moment.
It's true. I trust, you trust, you trust, and I trust. I trust you that you trust that eternal is your life now, knowing eternal is always being the best for all of life. You trust eternal completely. You surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Thank you, because I trust eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life.
You do. You trust eternal completely. You surrender all your concerns, every single one, to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Thank you, because I definitely trust eternal as my life, not now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life in every moment now.
Yep, I see that, Samantha. You trust eternal completely, completely, wholeheartedly. You surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best is your life now.
It's true, because I trust wholeheartedly eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is everything and always the best for all of life now.
Yep, eternal is. Sorry, sometimes these repetitive things get me into like a meditative state, and then I just am like yawning for like clearing energy. So that's what's happening.
I was like, are you getting some downloads or what's going on there?
I like, there's something about it, like when I meditate or when I'm like in a subconscious like mind thing, like I just yawn constantly and I can't make it stop. Like I'm not tired. I wasn't yawning up until this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you trust eternal completely, and so do I. And you surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Now you got me doing it. Oh, sorry. Okay. That's okay because I know and I trust eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for my life and always.
Yeah. You do. You trust eternal completely. You surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Thank you because I trust eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for my life now and in the future.
Yeah. You trust eternal completely. And I see you do. And you surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for all of your life now.
Yes, because I am and I trust eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life now and in the future.
Yeah, it's always been. You trust eternal completely, wholeheartedly, wholly. And you do this through surrendering all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Thank you, Megan, because I do trust eternal wholeheartedly and completely as my life. Know now knowing eternal is always the best for my life and all of life now and in the future.
Yeah, I see that. I'm witnessing that. You trust eternal completely. You surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best as your life now.
Thank you, because I trust eternal wholeheartedly and completely as my life. Now knowing eternal is always the best for all of life now and in the future.
You trust eternal completely. You surrender your control and all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the best for your life now.
Thank you, Megan, because I trust eternal wholeheartedly as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life now and in the future.
Awesome. Last one.
Yep.
You trust eternal. I see you doing it, and you surrender all your concerns to eternal, knowing eternal is being the very best for your life now.
Yes, that's true because I trust wholeheartedly eternal as my life now, knowing eternal is always the best for all of life now and in the future. And now I know why that eternal for spirit word came up because as we started saying it or as I started saying it for myself, like I was like, oh, I am eternal. Like even when the physical body dies, I'm still me. Like I'm still my spirit self. Like we're eternal. Like I'm eternal. You know, I was like, I'm a badass. I'm eternal. You know, like that just hit hard when I actually said it. I was like, oh, okay, spirit. Now I see why you guys want to pick that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, so then you're gonna do the writing and the mirror work.
Yes, yep. I'm gonna do that after we hang up. Well, first I'm gonna go grab something to eat because my stomach's like, and then I'm gonna do the writing. So I'm excited about. I just want to say that again, thank you. Like I appreciate you bringing me aboard to doing this with me. You know, even though you've done it like I don't know how many times before, but I appreciate you telling me about this because it's all in divine timing. So it definitely was meant for me to go through this and um, listening to the course. The end of the course I'm on now is like a 21-day challenge, and it's in her perspective, and I'm gonna like listen to them. But I think like if I offer a 21-day challenge, it'll probably be a little bit differently because she's like, oh, you should which this is like preparing me for the future, like this all of this, and it lines up with what she's saying. But she's saying that you should set us to get up like 2 hours early or almost 3 hours earlier than you normally do. So you have time to meditate, exercise, this and that. And I'm like, it's not realistic for some people, especially for me because I work sometimes 12, 14 hours a day. So I think if you could get up an hour like this, an hour, like even when we end, now I'm going to be in a habit of getting up an hour early or an hour and a half earlier. So now I can have time to, you know, like like finally getting in an exercising pattern because I was like, how am I going to do this? That's hard to get up earlier, but now I'm already going to have that habit after 42 days of getting up earlier to go exercise, to do a meditation before work. So it's like this is like all leading up to where it's supposed to be. So I
Yeah.
like that. I
Awesome.
definitely wanted to tell you that before we ended.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank Lisa, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to find another partner. And she was like, you should do your cousin.
Okay.
First she said Sam, and I was like, and my brain was like thinking my dog. I was like, what? And then she's like, your cousin. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know. Anytime like you're yelling at Sammy, I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're here, and I agree. I've been doing this. This is my third round, and I've had like maybe a week in between, maybe or a week or two in between. So I started August 1st was the first time that we started the thing. So, and that was my plan, just to keep doing it until the end of the year and see how and it is like in between the weeks where I don't do this work, it's like there's this like lull of like my gratitude practice is non-existent. And when my gratitude is existent, my life feels so much better. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, I love it. And then I'm sure Jules at the beginning of the year will like to start again. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like that you guys kind of already have a group. If I don't find anybody to bring into the group, then we can kind of like flush
yeah,
through the group again. You know what I mean? Until we find
yeah.
to bring in.